I never imagined that accepting my boyfriend's marriage proposal would lead me to discover his true and repulsive character. I met Ryan, as I will call him, on a dating site. He was 20 years old, and we started chatting for a month or two before deciding to meet in person. We went out a few times, and 2 months later, we shared our first kiss and started officially dating. Ryan moved from California to my state. He said the move was motivated by a complicated breakup with his ex-girlfriend of 3 years. To avoid upsetting him, I didn't ask many questions about his past, believing that what was past should remain there. Our relationship evolved slowly and traditionally, which I really appreciated. Ryan was attentive and caring, often cooking for me and sometimes bringing my lunch to work. Then, in January 2016, my grandmother was hospitalized. Ryan took time off work to stay by my side, leaving only to buy food or fetch items from my parents' house. On the third day, my grandmother passed away. When I stayed at his house, he insisted that I eat, despite my deep sadness and difficulty accepting the loss. My mother suggested that I move in with Ryan so he could take better care of me. Over time, with his care and psychological support, I began to improve, although the sadness still lingered. In March, I received another devastating call. My mother asked Ryan to answer the phone. I saw his face change as he heard the news, and when he handed the phone back to me, my mother informed me that my grandfather, who had moved in with her after my grandmother's death, had also passed away. My grandfather was found in the backyard after a baseball game. He couldn't bear to live without my grandmother. In the months following her death, Ryan and my grandfather had become very close. They often talked on the phone and spent time together, as my grandfather didn't like to be alone. His death was a tremendous blow to Ryan, and darkness seemed to envelop our lives. Then in May, Ryan took me to the place of our first date and unexpectedly proposed to me. I was deeply moved and gradually started to feel better. But soon, I realized that something was wrong. As soon as he put the ring on my finger, his attitude changed drastically. Ryan began to dislike me spending time alone with my friends. He became extremely jealous of my male colleagues, accusing them of liking me, and constantly pressured me to quit my job. The situation worsened when a pregnancy test gave a false positive. We were so excited about the idea of having a baby that we had already chosen a name and decided to postpone the wedding to buy a house first. But a week later, something felt off, and I decided to take another test, which came back negative. I was devastated, but Ryan's reaction was even worse. He started crying uncontrollably, then became furious, accusing me of purposely losing the baby because I didn't love him. He also believed that I had cheated on him and aborted the baby to hide the affair. Looking back, I don't understand why I stayed with him, but at the time, I thought he was just very hurt. In the following months, Ryan continued to accuse me of infidelity. If I took a shower after work, he found it suspicious. If I smiled at my phone, he thought I was cheating. He even went through my phone while I slept, deleting all male contacts, including my brothers, my father, and my stepfather. He also started demanding that I report my surroundings to prove that I was where I said I was. We decided to move to my father's house to save money and buy a house faster. To achieve our goal, I got a second job to earn more money. Ryan, believing that my double workload gave him the right to quit his job, spent his free time buying used cars, fixing them up, and selling them. He also used this time to snoop through my social media, checking all the men who liked my posts and my phone accounts to see who I was texting. He found something he considered suspicious. He discovered that I sent more messages than he did per month, which, to him, was proof of infidelity since I didn't have many friends. One night, he brought up the issue. I explained and showed him my messages, which were to my mother, my best friend, my boss, and occasionally to my father and uncle. After that, we went to bed. The next morning, he brought up the issue again. I said I didn't want to argue about the same thing twice. I left the room, but he took my keys and stole my car. He started texting me, saying I never loved him, that I could report the car stolen, that he didn't care anymore, and even suggested he might drive the car off a bridge. I managed to convince him to bring the car back. I took the car and went to my mother's house and broke up with him. But the story didn't end there. He said he did these crazy things because of depression and that, if it weren't for that, I wouldn't pay attention to him. He promised that if I gave him another chance, he would see a doctor. And, foolishly, I believed him and agreed, as long as he saw a psychologist. He went for about 3 months, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and started a treatment plan. Things began to improve, but suddenly they got worse again. He said he stopped treatment because they wanted to take his gun away. He stopped taking the medication and flushed it down the toilet. As he broke his promise, I broke up with him again. Then he started stalking me. Whenever I added a new male friend on Facebook, he would message them, telling them I was unfaithful and to stay away from me. He said he hoped my next boyfriend would hit me so I would see how good he was. He would show up at my workplace and hang around while I worked, bragging about having relations with other women. He found my new apartment and tried to convince my roommate to let him in. He also gave my contact information to some perverts, saying I was promiscuous. Then he started dating a 19-year-old girl, saying he didn't need to work because he could live off her. I finally quit my job. He said the girl was pregnant with his child, but would leave her for me. After quitting, I did some research and discovered the real reason he left California. He had stabbed his ex-girlfriend's brother because he tried to protect her after the breakup. He had also been accused of domestic violence in 3 other states and had several arrest warrants. I felt horrible. Finally, I sent him screenshots of the information I found and the messages he sent me about how he planned to use the new girl. But he didn't believe me, said I was just jealous, and blocked me. As far as I know, they now have 2 children, and only the girl works. I'm very grateful to have gotten rid of Ryan. Since then, I've been much more cautious when making friends online and never make the same mistake twice.